Parshah Shoftim, a vort from the Parshah. The following vort is taken from a Sicha of the Lubavitch Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson of blessed memory, from a Sicha from Shabbos Parshas Shoftim, the second day of El, 5749, which is 1989. This Shabbos is the first Shabbos, and it's very close to this year because it was first Shabbos in Elul, and it's also this year the first Shabbos in Elul, which will be Parshah Shoftim. This Shabbos is the first Shabbos in the month of Elul. This is the month in which we should take stock and complete all the service associated with the year Tafshin Mem Tes. This is back then 5749 1989. A year connected with the concept of release. Prepare for the service of Tafshin Nun, a year of miracles. Each day of El is of unique importance for each day of the month. Can elevate and compensate for the service of that day in all the months of the previous year, and prepare for the service of that day in all the months of the year to come. The first of Elul is connected with the first day of all the months of the previous and coming years. The second of Elul with the second day, etc. According to the principle that we must live in the times, find a lesson relevant to our lives from the weekly Torah portion, it is self-understood that there is a connection between the above concepts in the weekly Torah portion, Parshah Shoftim. Parshah Shoftim begins with the commandment to appoint judges and police in all your gates. This concept is relevant in the personal service of every Jew. Judges, those who decide the law, allude to the study of Torah, which teaches us the proper behavior to follow. Police, those who enforce the law, allude to the service of the actual deed. By appointing judges, our police for oneself, a Jew assures that his behavior will follow Torah's guidelines. This concept is further emphasized by the interpretation of your gates as referring to our sensory organs, eyes, ears, etc. These organs are the gates through which we take in information from the outside environment and respond to it. We must appoint judges and police to control our appreciation of these stimuli and our response to them, directing them according to Torah's standards. This brings out the connection to the month of Elul, the month of stock-taking. In such a month, there is a greater emphasis on judging and controlling our behavior to compensate for any deficiencies in the service of the previous year and to prepare for the service of the year to come. This concept also relates to the conclusion of the weekly portion, which discusses the mitzvah of Egla Arufa, decapitating a calf as atonement for an unsolved murder. The appointment of judges and police is intended to prevent undesirable events of this nature from occurring. When such an event does occur, even though as it occurs in a field beyond the domains of the city, they perform the service necessary to bring about atonement. This also relates to the service of the month of Elul, which is associated with and prepares for the atonement of Yom Kippur. Indeed, it is explained that the cycle of repentance and atonement of these days has its source in the 40-day period which Moshe spent on Mount Sinai, beginning Rosh Chodesh Elul and ending on Yom Kippur. This involves repentance for the sin of the golden calf and God's pronouncement of atonement. I have forgiven according to your words on Yom Kippur. The fact that the corpse is found in the field can also be understood as an allusion to the metaphor of the king in the field, which describes the service of Elul. To quote Likutei Torah, before a king comes to a city, the people of the city come out and greet him in the field. Then it is permitted, and the potential is granted for all those who desire to go and greet him. He receives them all with a pleasant countenance and shows them a smiling countenance to all. Shows a smiling countenance to all, goes out to greet the king. in this manner brings about atonement, since the 13 attributes of divine mercy are revealed in the month of Elul. The following week's portion contains a verse which, when translated literally, would read, "When you go out to war over your enemies, a Jew must go out to war. Confrontation with the undesirable aspects of this world represents a departure and a descent from his natural state. When he approaches such a confrontation, he must know not to fear them, that he is over his enemies. A Jew truly is a part of God from above. Israel and the Holy One, blessed be He, are one. Therefore, by nature, He stands above all the undesirable aspects of this world. Thus, the war is not a battle between two equals. Rather, He is on a totally different plane than the enemies He faces. Why does a Jew descend to this low physical world? Because God begged him, as it were, to do so. God gave each Jew a mission which involved descending from the spiritual heights to become clothed in physical body in this world, where godliness is concealed. Thus, if this descent leads to undesirable consequences, it is not the Jew's fault. It occurred only because God sent the soul into such a place, and hence it is something, to quote the Torah's expression in regard to accidental murder, God caused it to come to His hand. Therefore, our hands did not shed this blood. We cannot be held accountable for this sin. The ultimate purpose of this descent is an ascent. Through working to make dwelling place for God within this material world, the soul ascends to a higher level than it experienced before its descent. The Torah and mitzvos themselves are given for the sake of the Jewish people. As we say in the Mishnah recited after Perek Yevos, God wished to make the people of Israel meritorious, therefore He gave them Torah mitzvah in abundant measure. Similarly, Talmud of Eliyahu states that two entities preceded the creation of the world, Torah and Israel, of the two Israels on the higher level. Since the Torah and mitzvos were intended to elevate the Jewish people and the Jews above the Torah, it is impossible that an imperfection or deficiency in the service of the Jews would cause a descent in their level. The Torah bypasses, as it were, the blemishes and deficiencies caused by a sin and appreciation of the point in a Jew's soul that transcends Torah. This concept sheds light on the request to atone for your people Israel. Why is atonement possible? Because the Jews are your chosen people, your people, connected in a complete bond with God. They are above Torah, hence a deficiency in their service of Torah and mitzvos does not disturb this essential bond. This connection is expressed by the service of tshuva, which has its source in the arousal of the essence of the soul. Therefore, once on a revealed level, the Torah is above the Jewish people, as evidenced by the need for us to follow the Torah's laws. The service of tshuva, however, reveals the essential connection between the Jews and God, which surpasses the Torah. Furthermore, tshuva has the power of compensating for all the deficiencies created in a person's service to God, lifting him to a very high level, as our sages declared. In the place of Bali Tshuva, even complete tzaddikim cannot stand. The Rebbe continued developing this theme within the context of the metaphorical significance of the portion of the Mishnah Torah connected with the present day. This has been published as a separate essay entitled The Challenge of the Sea, the awareness of the essential connection between the Jews and God, which surpasses the Torah, should lead to an intensification of our efforts to reach out to every Jew. Though Elul should involve an increase in each person's individual service of God as expressed in a variety of different customs, it should also lead to an increase in our efforts to reach others. To quote the Rambam, one who saves a single Jewish soul is considered as he saved the entire world. May it be that the essential quality possessed by each Jewish soul motivates God to hear the prayers of the righteous, and your people are all righteous and bring the redemption. All the appointed times of coming of the redemption have passed. We have even polished the buttons to cite the previous harvest expression, and we are all standing prepared to greet Mashiach. Have a great Shabbos.